Let's talk about another downstream effect of crypto and on-chain commerce, which we're going to call Iran's crypto war machine. So, the IRGC has been working on some interesting stuff around the Strait of Hormuz and has what I'm going to call a toll booth now where operators can pay $1 a barrel to 2 million per supertanker in yuan or allegedly stablecoins via Tron. So this will allow people to move through the strait. The system allegedly is live and documented. I believe Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance have both reported on this. And the IRGC, as we know, moved 3 billion through crypto in 2025, according to Chainalysis. And the Ministry of Defense has begun accepting crypto for arms exports. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you here before we get to the second part of this. Do we now have the dollar on both sides of the war? Is this like that meme of the missiles and the interceptors that is my tax dollars, somehow also my tax dollars? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, the Iranians are just keep buying treasuries. That's what it looks like, right? And like we said, the dollar's taking over the world. So it's perpetuating the US dollar as the reserve currency.
Even if you hate us, you're going to use it.
Yeah. I mean, look, without getting myself in too much trouble, what if they were to keep, like what we were saying, great guys, buy even more with use even more stable coins. You like keep going. Yeah, it's a great thing to use. Use as many stable coins as possible, accumulate them like crazy, and then all of a sudden, overnight we freeze and seize. How does that work? Now, of course, they're smart. They're going to move. They're going to try to bridge that over to Bitcoin and other things. But let's remember, like we have freeze and seize capabilities for stable coins. And like, I think if they really are going down that route in a sustained way, I think it opens up the IRCG to a lot of risks. And that's one of the beautiful things about stable coins is that those treasuries are sitting somewhere, and that somewhere is a centralized accountable entity. And, FAFO, as you said, Austin, and I think it gives our national security apparatus a very good vector, not only to freeze and seize, but sometimes maybe they just watch it a little bit, see where it goes before they freeze and seize it. So I don't understand why anyone in their right mind who's a bad guy would use stablecoins.
What do you think? Do you agree with Chris? Disagree?
Iran, I think, continues to surprise everyone. You got them producing Lego videos for every tweet Trump has. Now they're adopting crypto technology. They're fracturing the U.S. alliances. They're getting record revenues on oil. Russia and China tankers are getting through. China's loving the present situation. I think it's embarrassing. I think we haven't prosecuted this conflict effectively. We're now approaching 6 weeks in. Iran is setting terms. Trump has moved delay after delay from March 26th to April 1st to now tomorrow. I think the Pentagon is way over their skis here. They made some miscalculations. I'm disappointed as an American in how our leaders have executed and prosecuted this campaign. We still don't have control of the uranium. They're shooting down American aircraft. It's embarrassing.
So I'll say a couple of points here. One, I think it's very interesting that they're using USDT. I think, as Chris alleges, people greatly underestimate the public part of public blockchains. I would keep an eye on that space and see what's ultimately going to happen there. I don't know that we'll seize it. I don't know that we'll monitor it. On the actual kinetic war effort, leaving aside the strait, I'll be honest and say the fact that we've had one aircraft shot down for all of the flights that we put over Iran is actually a pretty good track record, and we got both of the pilots back. That part bothers me significantly less, especially an A-10 being one of the things shot down. Like, I don't know how familiar anybody is with the A-10 Warthog, but that is
more aircraft were destroyed. More aircraft were destroyed, shot down. Like you can, the rescue operation.
We'll come back to destroying rescue operation stuff. I'm mostly concerned about like live fire aircraft where the enemy destroys them, right? Which is to say, that's an A-10, that's an F-15. Now, shooting down an A-10, low altitude, strafes you with a machine gun. And by the way, that thing's not a joke, but that is an infantry support vehicle there. I'm not totally shocked you could get one of those. Getting an F-15 to me is a little bit more interesting. Like, I'd be curious to know how that happened, what they shot it down with, and where those weapons were supplied from, because that was not happening earlier.
Yeah, is Russia supplying passive radar to the
Yes.
IRGC? And
Yeah,
why aren't we pressuring Russia?
Let me chime in a little bit here. So I actually have a little bit of experience on these types of things. I was on the USS Kearsarge in 1995 when we rescued Scott O'Grady. So I've observed firsthand what we call back in the Marine Corps a trap mission. It's the most complex mission, one of the most complex missions in all the military. Was it perfectly flawless, Rom? No, it wasn't flawless because we had some issues with some of our birds getting stuck in the sand. But what did it do? First off, it really showcased and highlighted American values, right? We galvanized these people. We galvanized every asset. We said, you know what? One of our people, we don't care. We're all going to sacrifice. It's the
I'm
and it
referring to the
showed.
campaign.
I know.
not
I'm
the
getting. I'm going to
mission.
get to that. I'm get to that.
Okay.
So we pulled off one of the most strategic, difficult. Remember, when you have a pilot going down, they're flying in a little like parachute. Everyone's going after them. The weapon system officer uses Siri training. He evaded. He escaped. He did what he was trained to do. And then while everyone was coming, it was a full government action. What it tells you is that when the U.S. government wants to get something done, it typically happens. And yeah, we haven't gotten it there yet fully in the Strait of Hormuz, but we put every instrument of national power to recover that weapon system officer, and it really showcased our values. Right? Gosh, what if every organization was that good? Right? Put your people first, rehearse like hell, accomplish the mission. Things, and of course, no plan ever survives the first shots. So what do? They adjusted and they overcame and they got it done, right? So to me, that was a huge boost. Saw the president talking about it today. Now, look, we talk about the different levels of war. We all want to see this thing get solved, right? And how does it get solved? The Strait of Hormuz needs to get open, but I'll remind you that it was an impossible position to begin with. These guys have been ravaging the global international community for the last 50 years. They have killed numerous people. Look what they did with Hamas and Israel. So we had a choice, right? Could we tolerate that as they were, accelerating their quest to get nuclear weapons? If they were nuclear armed, what position would we be in right now as a globe? Particularly with their ability to reach Europe, would be a terrible situation. So it's a bad situation. It was a growingly worse situation. Is it great to be in a war? It's awful, but where are we? If you talk to former Central Command, I was listening to him on Face the Nation over the weekend. He said we're far advanced beyond our military goals than I would have ever expected. So we forget how young how early we are in this exercise. It's been what, like 30 something days. It hasn't been that
Well,
long.
I mean, if you listen to White House and Pentagon, they're saying we just need 2 to 3 more weeks and we're pretty much wrapped up. But
I would never.
Yeah.
But as a military guy, you can never put a timeline. It has to be events based, right? So I am very there's no way I could ever criticize the tactical actions of the U.S. military. I think it's been nearly flawlessly executed. Not perfect, but
they
been
just
executed
relieved
very,
the
very well.
army. They've been people are being held
All right,
accountable.
so
Right.
the chief. I just want to clarify. When you relieve the chief of staff of the army, it has very little to do with the fighting forces. Forces are fought by combatant commands. So Admiral Bradley, sorry, what's his name? Cooper, not Bradley Cooper. Sorry, Admiral Cooper, Naval Academy graduate. He's the one fighting the fight right now. Naval Academy graduate, doing a good job. The Secretary of the Army, his job is to equip the forces, which is a little bit different. So you have to kind of separate fighting versus equipping, and I don't know the reasons for that. But if they relieved Admiral Cooper, that would be a different message, and it's not. So long story short, it is what it is. It's a difficult spot. We need to get that strait opened. I don't know if Trump, we're not sure what he's going to do come tomorrow night. Is he going to take those bridges out?
Right.
Rom, you're going to say no way.
playing
You think he's going to
ultimatum
taco?
game. He's playing the ultimatum game. He can't even taco if he wants. He's trying to taco, but it takes 2 to taco here. He's trying to do the taco. He's been tacoing for weeks. No one's biting the taco, right? He gave another delay, then the 5 days, and now yet another delay. It's the terms are being set by Iran. Iran is saying, hey, this is what we need. We want a permanent ceasefire and we want compensation for damages. So there's a difference between objectives and those objectives are good or not, and how effectively it's been prosecuted. Clearly a lot of miscalculations. were made here, and standards of conduct and warfare were tossed out the window, taking out leadership that you no longer can negotiate with. It's not clear they know who they're negotiating with. Trump said that we can't communicate with them; they can't communicate. So, what response are we expecting? Like smoke signals here? And what signal have we sent to China and Russia around how they might conduct warfare against Taiwan, Ukraine, or Washington, D.C.? We talk about values. We compromise our own values. That's not how you conduct warfare.
What specifically are you referring to?
Well, just the manner of the execution of this campaign. There's difference between goals and methods and efficacy, right? So I think they could have approached this very differently, and now we're in this pretend and extend mode. We're in pretend and extend mode. It's like, hey, I need 2 to 3 more weeks. They can't say it's 1 more week because that's unrealistic. They can't say 4 weeks because markets will crash. So they're saying 2 to 3 more weeks. It's dog ate my homework, and then scramble. Let's try to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And Trump himself today said, look, the Iranians, the IRGC, has been real clear, simply needs to say that they laid mines. Whether they did or didn't, it would close the Strait of Hormuz. So the Pentagon's trying to prove a negative now. We're trying to prove there's no such thing as a black swan. Very hard to prove that.
Part of what's interesting to me is the disconnect between the methods used versus Trump's rhetoric, right? Because if you look at the way the war has been prosecuted, like at the tactical level, as Chris was talking about previously, we've mostly dominated. They've shot down, 1-2 planes. We bombed our own equipment to prevent it from falling into their hands. American casualties are minimal. A lot of Iranian warfighting infrastructure is absolutely zeroed right now. But Ram, as you pointed out, we've also systematically eliminated a majority of their leadership. That is not the sort of war you would normally fight to negotiate in the short term. That's the kind of war you would prosecute to exhaust the enemy and force them to surrender, right? So that is a certain sort of plan that, by the way, if the U.S. rhetoric from Trump was, we're just going to keep bombing you until either you give us what we want or there's none of yous left to bomb, in some ways it would seem more aligned, because that is more what the military is doing.
Having more consistent. Correct.
Trump is trying to send a very different message verbally about, we want to negotiate, we're looking for a solution, we want the strait open in the short term. And it makes me question one of two things, right? One is there a lack of coordination internally within the United States? Or two, because Ram, you said this earlier, so I'm just going to throw this out there. Does Trump know he's full of it, and primarily what he's doing is talking in a way to try to keep markets up?
Oh, of course he's keeping markets up to buy time. Look, there's no love lost for the death of the Ayatollah, right? It's a despot. The people deserve better, of course. The Strait of Hormuz shouldn't be controlled by a regime that seeks nuclear weapons and wants to inflict harm upon its neighbors. Of course, like we all get that, okay? But this isn't going well. And the public's being misled. I think it's kind of obvious. It's very obvious. Monday of last week, Trump was on the tarmac saying we've got 12 points of negotiation and alignment with Iran. And now Iran is issuing their own terms. And we're doing pretend and extend again. Like, this hasn't gone well. And Hegseth takes off for 9 days without any press updates. They haven't acknowledged where they could have done better. It's a weird situation when, as an American, you believe the Iranian characterization of the status of negotiations, which is that they're not happening, and you don't trust the Pentagon. And they fired the former head of the Pentagon, the former Pentagon spokesperson, who had some credibility too. The Pentagon still hasn't accounted for $1 trillion in spending. Now they want $500 billion or more. They get into a war, then they have to go to Congress and ask for funding to deplete munitions. We've burned 10 years of Tomahawks, 10 years with the Tomahawks. And now we need to get a ceasefire because we're off sides. This is like a C- execution effort.
So what do you do, Ron?
What you do is you hold your public leaders accountable. That's what you do. That's what I'm doing.
That's what we have. We have elections coming up, right? So that's the point of democracy. And again, the strategic level will be controlled by those elections. I think tactically, it's been a really well prosecuted campaign. And look, I think in any conflict, there's always things you could do better. Could we have galvanized our allies better to get them on side earlier? I think so. But I guess my question is, what do you do? Like, it's easy to critique the past, play armchair quarterback, but like, what do you do from here?
I agree. It's a cluster. It's a cluster. I don't think everyone's recognized the kind of cluster this is. Okay. My main point is to highlight and recognize that. That's my main. It's to say that it's a cluster is a non-consensus view right now. That's my main observation. Let's identify the issue, then we can focus on the issue.
If you like this segment, please like, subscribe, and tune in every Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Austin Campbell, the host of Bips and Bips, along with my friends Ram Ahluwalia and Chris Perkins and our slate of exceptional guests. Every week, we're going to discuss macro, crypto, and the collision of worlds, covering topics that move markets and shape the financial landscape.
Ether.fi is giving Unchained listeners 15% cash back on food and ride apps. And that's on top of the 3% you get on everything else. Your bank is charging you to use your own money. I switched. Go to Ether.fi/Unchained to claim your discount. Bitcoin changed how money works. Cetrea changes how Bitcoin scales. With a trust-minimized BTC and a native stablecoin, CTUSD, Cetrea enables Bitcoin capital markets with lending, privacy, Bitcoin yield, and more. Get started at cetrea.xyz/unchained.